Hi, everybody, and welcome to this webinar to tell you a little bit about Meta Youth Leadership. And I'm here with Lydia Jourdain, who's a fellow leader. Hi, Lydia.
Hi, great to be here. Thank you.
Well, we're gonna go through some questions and some informative, hopefully useful information for you, whether you're a young person listening to this or you're a parent and you're considering Meta as a possibility in the next few months, and you're wondering what does Meta involve? Can I commit to it? How much does it cost? What are all the details about Meta? And so Lydia and I are going to do our very best over the next few minutes to run through some facts and details, and hopefully that will help you to make a decision whether it's right for you to apply. So Lydia, over to you.
Brilliant. Well, Stu, I'd love you to tell me what is Meta? That's the burning question.
Okay, brilliant, absolutely. So Meta is effectively a 10-month discipleship and leadership program for young people aged between 16 and 19 plus. I'm putting a little plus there because sometimes we're open to those who are a little bit older. And it involves a number of aspects. And what it really means is Meta. A lot of people ask, why did you come up with the name Meta? Haven't you just nicked that from Facebook? Well, we want to say actually, it's happened a lot before Facebook, because Meta is the Greek word meaning to go beyond. To go beyond, and we love young people to think about going beyond themselves and thinking about what's possible with the lives that God has given them. And so it's a lot about discovering their calling and growing in character in order to fulfill that great life call that God's got on their lives. And Meta also has a meaning in today's culture of to comment on one's own story in a digital sense. And we really want young people to be understanding their story as part of God's big story, the big meta narrative of what God's done in history in the world. So there's a whole piece around faith that is absolutely critical to it. And you could say there's a little acronym. So Meta, the letters META. M stands for multiplication, because we want young people to really multiply what they're learning. E stands for edification, which is about building young people up and building their confidence. Of course, it's pretty hard to be a young person in today's culture. T stands for transformation, because we really invite the Holy Spirit to be transforming and molding us as we go through the program. And A stands for acceleration, because there's a lot packed in to 10 months and it feels like an accelerated program. So that's a bit of an overview of what Meta is.
Fantastic.
Lydia, can I ask you that
Mm.
all that I've just put together in Meta, how much work is that? So if a person's considering coming on Meta and they're thinking, that sounds amazing, but can I do it? I've got my GCSEs or whatever, or my A levels or whatever. Can I fit it all in? How does it work?
Yeah, brilliant question. And it is built to run alongside GCSEs and A levels, or if you're in a gap year, that sort of thing. The commitment is 1.5 hours a week, and that's it. We break in the holidays and half terms and things, so it does allow for people to go away. And if someone were to miss a week, we do record all the sessions, the coaching clinics that we meet for 1 hour a week. But we would really encourage people to be there each week. We really want people there. It's a real community. It's really exciting to have everyone there together. But if for unforeseen circumstances somebody can't attend, then we do record it. And each week we send out a weekly video. It's sort of 15, 20 minutes maximum. And we ask that the young people watch it in advance of the meetings. And then on our weekly coaching calls, everyone joins and they bring their questions and they watch the video and we discuss it, which is it's a time of real community, actually, and faith growing. It's really, really helpful for the young people to kind of be in the group and meet the rest. We also have two in-person meetings a year as well, usually around London, for those who are based in the UK, because obviously there are quite a number of international people there, which is fantastic. We love the mixture of people that we have. We have a buddy system, so we buddy people up with people that they don't know and that we think will help each other grow in their faith. They can meet, they can discuss how they're getting on, they can pray together and really grow. It's a real gift for them. And it also culminates in a mission trip, an optional mission trip at the end of the summer. So after you've got to know all the people over the 10-month course, there is this opportunity to go and do a mission trip together as a group. Last year we were in Lebanon. This year we're off to Rwanda, and the young people get to meet in person and come from all over the world and run a mission trip together, which is really wonderful.
Brilliant, Lydia. That's amazing. I was thinking there's also the digital workbook as well, isn't there?
Yes.
Where young people get to just fill in some details each week of what they're learning, and there's a number of slides that accompany the journey, so they get a whole year, don't they, of journaling that's there for them to add their bits to. Brilliant.
Absolutely. And to reflect on the videos and what we've talked about. It's really, really helpful for them.
Yeah, great.
Great. So, Stu, tell us, what does it cost? How do finances work?
Yeah, a great question. So, yeah, there is a cost to Meta, but we always say that we don't want money to be a prohibiting factor for any young person. So, if a young person couldn't afford the costs, they would talk to us and we would come up with a way of anyone coming. So, if anyone gets through the application process, which we'll talk through at the end of this webinar, money's not an issue. So, hear that to begin with. That's really important. The cost for a young person coming on Meta for the year is £360 UK pounds. That there can be percentages of that if you're coming from another country, because we recognize that sometimes currency works out that the exchange rate, that's a lot of money for some. It's not so much for others, but it's £360 for the year. That does not include the mission trip. So we expect young people to raise their own funding for the mission trip. If you're coming from the UK onto the mission trip and we were going abroad, the last couple of years, it's been around £1,500 that a young person's had to raise, and that's done usually through a local church and through a young person doing various sponsored events or ways of raising funding. And people generally want to support a young person going to do something really useful, either in somewhere else in the world or in perhaps a deprived area of the UK, which is also a place where we're going to be doing some mission work. So the cost is £360. Don't let money be an issue. Some people can afford that and say, look, we love what you guys are doing. We want to give a little bit more because we want to cover a young person who couldn't afford that. So we get that sometimes. Some parents pay a bit more and some pay a bit less. Yeah. So that's the cost situation. I linked in there, Lydia, with the local church a little bit. Could you just tell us what's the relationship between Meta and local churches?
Yeah, great question. It very much supports the local church. We're not setting up a church to take you away from your current church if you go to one. It's very much to support it. We kind of try to link in with the pastor or the youth leader or whoever, whatever connections that we have there. There are some young people who aren't actually part of a church yet, and this is kind of their first step into faith and building that. So we support them with that, and then we encourage them to join a local church. So it's very much a kind of collaborative supporting of that rather than a separate thing. It's in addition to church. And yeah, some young people may be doing an internship in their local church as they do Meta, which is fantastic and brilliant. And we're very happy to support that as well.
Yeah.
Great.
Brilliant.
Fantastic. So, Stu, I'd love you to tell us or start to tell us a little bit about what is the impact of, or the hoped impact of Meta on young people.
Yes, absolutely. So, well, I think what we're looking for when a young person goes through the Meta program is the reason we do it over 10 months with a mission trip is that it takes time for young people to take in new content, to change and to grow. And we are looking for young people to really grow in a number of ways through coming on this. Firstly, we're looking for them to grow in their faith. And the curriculum is set that the first term, they particularly look at identity. So we're really looking for them to be rooted in their faith in Jesus and to know that they're so precious and valued. And that's so important. And we do some personality stuff around that. The second term, we're really inviting more of the Holy Spirit to do a work in their lives and for them to be attentive to the work of the Spirit. So we're really hoping that they're going to grow in character and they're going to grow in ministry and gifts in the Spirit. And then the third term, we're particularly looking at spiritual disciplines for life. So what do you need to develop now? Habits, healthy, godly, good habits like reading your Bible every day, taking a Sabbath, how you give in the future, a generous life, all these kind of things. We're trying to teach them these habits, hoping that they will continue with those through their lives. So it's a real, in that sense, it's a real discipleship program. So we hope they really grow to be faithful followers of Jesus. And we look at some thorny moral issues as well, like, for example, sexuality is one of the topics that we will look at, and other sort of moral or ethical challenging issues. And we help the young people to develop tools to understand themselves how they will tackle those issues. It's not about us giving them the answers, it's about giving them some tools to be able to work that through. And so we see them growing as disciples. That really happens. I think we also see the impact in that they grow in confidence. I think having other Christian friends around them, being built up in their faith and in who they are in Jesus, means that they just get a little bit more confident as individuals, and that's really important. We want to challenge and do something about the anxiety that so many young people face in such a social media digital world. So so seeing them grow in personal confidence and self-awareness is something that really happens. We're also teaching them leadership tools, and that's really good. We've got a good relationship with Giant, who are a world-class leadership organization. And we use a number of the Giant leadership tools with young people. These tools are used with leaders in all kinds of places of influence around the world. And we were thinking, why shouldn't young people get these early on? So it's brilliant. So as well as getting biblical teaching each week, and we'll be looking at passages and themes from the Bible, they'll also be looking at leadership tools. And that means not only do they grow in self-awareness, but they also grow in emotional intelligence. We want them to be people who are not only firm in their faith, but they're really good with people. They know how to communicate. They know how to work with others really well. And of course, 1 year is not going to make it perfect for everyone, but it is an accelerator. They do learn a lot and they get a lot to take away. And that digital workbook is something they can come back to again and again and again. So that, coupled with the mission, the 7 to 10 day mission trip, either abroad or in the UK, I think really results in faith growing, confidence growing. They grow in confidence in ministering in the power of the Spirit. We really want them to be sensitive to the work of the Holy Spirit. So that is a really strong piece. And the other thing, I think, the other impact is they gain friends from around the world. You mentioned it earlier, Lydia. It's great the way they do that, and they've got this community. And we've noticed that in the past, the metas that we've done were reasonably new, but the ones that we've done, the young people don't want to stop meeting when we finish. And that's just so lovely that they're still continuing to meet, they're still supporting each other. And that, I think, just builds them up as individuals to really find their place in the world. So yeah, those are some of the impacts. I was wondering, Lydia, if we could share. Shall I just pop on the screen a tool that
that'd be
you
great.
might use? And perhaps,
Bit of
Lydia, for example, you could just share, what, for example, here's a tool. Lydia, very briefly, what does this tool mean, for example, for a young person?
So this one, the 5 circles of influence, it helps the young people to reflect upon each of these circles and to switch from being accidental in their kind of leadership behaviors to being really intentional. And it helps them focus on, how do I become intentional in each one? So starting with self, that self-awareness, and then bringing that out to family and those that they live with. Then their team, it might be those who they're at school with, the organization, the school, and then the wider community, but just trying to bring Jesus into each one of those circles and how to know how to do that. And so we kind of equip them and talk to them about how they might bring Jesus into each circle of influence.
Brilliant. Thanks, Lydia. And that's just one of many tools. And just linked to that and the impact and the global piece, Lydia, just tell us that even this year we've got quite a few people from around the world, haven't we?
Yeah, we really do.
looking?
It's fantastic. It's such a great kind of global friendship. These people who may not meet in person until the very end, but you really develop friendships. We've got people from Uganda, from Pakistan, India, someone's over from Iran, Lebanon, and the UK, and it's just really wonderful to encourage each other from these different places, meeting real persecution in Pakistan and India, and to be able to kind of see how their faith is so strong. And I found that's been really encouraging for particularly the UK ones, where it's not so much a problem to have a faith, that people are a bit more accepting of it. But I think it's really powerful to meet and develop these friendships that often last a lifetime. They, as Stu said, they're still meeting up, and that's really, really wonderful. And then some of our previous ones have become leaders this year as well, and sort of continued with it, which has been absolutely fantastic. I'm really, really
And
excited.
that's been really good because we've had one person who lives in Lebanon who's a leader this year, and then one person who's in the UK who's a leader this year. So it's very much an international growing leadership team. And just one other quick thing to say is a couple of quick stories. So just from this year alone, one young person who's on Meta really felt led to start a Bible study group for guys he's a lad in his school, and so he started this, and he's got a number of guys meeting with him to read the Bible each week, which I just think is fantastic. Another young person noticed in his sixth form college that the college wasn't preparing the students particularly well for applying to university. And he wanted to address that, and he had some ideas, and he actually started a mentoring scheme, and he's got 90 students going through his mentoring scheme this year to help young people apply to universities more effectively. That was what he felt God put on his heart. So off the back of this, a number of them take on little leadership roles, and that might be in their local church, it might be in their schools. But it's great to see them stepping into leadership. And that's really what Meta's about in terms of the impact. We want young people to be confident in faith, confident in who God's made them to be, and step up and use the gifts and skills that God's given them in any sphere of influence in society. So we really believe we're building up young disciples and leaders for God's kingdom, which is great. So those are a few stories.
Yeah, indeed. And we also encourage them
yes.
to pray and minister to each other and outwards as well. It's, we say, do meet with your buddy, do pray together, and we build confidence. To start with, some people might be quite fresh to it and might not have prayed out loud before, but by the end, we encourage them. We may ask someone to close in prayer so they have bit of time to prepare if they're not really used to doing that, and it's just a really lovely development of their skills as Christians, and using that sort of prayer and ministry in their lives. So that's good. And Stu, I was going to ask you what sort of people, we've touched upon the kind of nationalities, but what sort of people join Meta?
Yes, great question. So we get a real range. So we get a range in terms of faith. So some young people will be on fire for the Lord and going off to lead their CU at university. They're really strong in their faith. Brilliant. We love that. And we think that they will journey and grow on Meta. We also get young people who come on Meta who are very early stage Christians. They might say, we had one person say, I'm not sure where I am, but I want to believe. And after praying and going through the interview process, we felt it was right for them to come, and they saw them really grow. There's another young person who says, I do believe, but I don't think I practice properly. I really want to be a follower of Jesus, but it's not fully there yet. And so we have young people come in at all different stages of their faith, and we love it. We love having them, and we see them grow. The other thing is we see people from different sort of walks of society. It's for everyone, and there actually is a really lovely mixture on every cohort. So young people mix across those kind of boundaries, and we love that. So it's a real, and then you've got the international flavor. So it feels like it's a real melting pot of lots of different young people from different cultures, faith journeys. But I suppose the key thing is they're saying, I'm a Christian, and I want to be, and I want to grow in my faith. And that's the key thing we're looking for. We're looking for that kind of hunger to grow and to be invested in, because that's what they'll get this year. And it links to what you said earlier, Lydia, that we run these sessions every week. It's a weekly program because we believe that's important for real transformation and for real community. And therefore, we do have that expectation that a young person will attend. We recognize sometimes that there's an exam the next day, and we're like, okay, particularly if you've come in from Pakistan and it's midnight, because most of our calls are later in the evening, where they're in the evening when people are home from school. UK time, that means for some people it's very late. And we recognize that sometimes they're going to miss the odd session, particularly if they're ill. But we do ask for them to make that commitment.
Yeah, brilliant. Fantastic.
Great. So Lydia, can you tell us a little bit about the application process as we come into land? How does somebody apply to Meta?
Absolutely, fantastic. Well, hopefully, often they will have seen our flyer. I think you were going to share
Yes.
the flyer. Our
Yeah.
flyer goes out, young people read it, they can show it to their parents if they want to. And it just gives a kind of overview of the course, what it entails, and an opportunity to apply. And then you can email meta@somauk.org, or Stu there as well. And you can request an application form, and we'll just send that out to you. It's just an electronic Google form to ask you some questions about where you're at with your faith, what you want from Meta, why you're applying, if you're part of a church, just some really simple questions. And then if you're successful, we'll call you to an interview, and two or more leaders will be on that with you, and we'll just talk to you, get to know you. Would love to hear more about your faith journey, how you became a Christian, those sorts of things. We'll ask you those questions, and give you an opportunity to ask us questions as well, of like sort of, well, what do I have to do? And those sorts of things. We're very happy to answer those. And then we would potentially offer you a place on the next cohort, which starts in the autumn, which would be brilliant. You can apply any time to that, earlier the better. I think it's really nice to kind of know that you're there and set up, and then we can be in touch over the summer before that. But yeah, so it's very, very easy to do, and we're happy to answer all of your questions as well. And it doesn't end there, does it, Stu? What happens kind of after Meta?
Absolutely, yes. So the Meta journey is about, by the way, is about 15 people. So just to say, we don't take on huge numbers in a cohort. There might be more than one cohort one year or some years, but at the moment it's 15 in each cohort, and we go into breakout groups. So it's a small gathering where we really put into those individuals. So that's important to note. In terms of what happens after Meta, we always say that anyone who's completed Meta joins the Meta alumni. And that is a growing community of young people all over the world that want to follow the Lord, that want to pray together, that want to continue to meet, that want support, leadership support, discipleship support going forward. So we're growing that community. And so when you finish your program, which ends with the mission trip in the summer, it doesn't have to be the end. You can join these alumni cohorts. At the moment, those meet at certain times through the year online. We're growing that alumni program, so there may be some more in-persons. And it's a way of just keeping the connections and the support when you finished. And also those who've done a Meta program in the past and are part of the alumni scheme get to go on any future missions in the future. So if we were going abroad or we're going in the UK and you wanted to join the mission trip as a previous Meta student and part of the alumni, you get to join all those future missions. And it's important to note that we come under Soma UK. You probably know that because this is where this webinar is housed on the Soma website. And Soma are very experienced in that. And they've said that young people that have completed Meta can go on other Soma mission trips around the world as well, which is really exciting. So it doesn't end there. There's lots more. There's a journey and a community to be part of at the end. Fantastic. So Lydia, if people have further questions, what's the website that they need to go to ask those?
So we'd love you to email us at meta@somauk.org. That's the simplest way to get in touch with us, and we will respond. And we very much look forward to hearing from you. And yeah, very grateful for your time. Thank you so much for watching, and we hope it's been helpful and informative. If we've missed anything, get in touch.
Yes, thanks ever so much, everyone. We've really enjoyed sharing this information with you. Please be in touch. We look forward to receiving applications. Thank you. Bye.